So if, like me, you own a System-8, Christmas came early this year. When we bought our System-8s, I mean, I've had mine mine came the first week of November 2016. We found that the Jupiter 8 sounds had been installed, but the Juno-106 sound banks were blank. And we were told then by Roland that don't expect these Juno-106 sounds to turn up until 2017, probably February. So that's sort of like the time scale I had in my head about this. Well, Monday, 19th of December 2016, there's an email that comes out from Roland saying, go get your Juno-106 sounds, which many of you have duly done. Okay, so that's where we are. The second thing to note about this is that with other plug outs, so the SH101, 102, Promars, etc., they have been loaded into the System 1 and, by the looks of it, to the System-8 as well, by uploading a VST or a U to your DAW and then sending the sounds from the DAW through to the keyboard. On the System-8, the Juno-106 sounds are embedded in the firmware. Right, so you need to put the firmware in to get the 106 sounds, and they will be specifically onto that plug out 2 button. You don't have the option to put them onto plug out 3. Okay, by the looks of it at the moment. The other interesting thing is that when you look at the version of the firmware, so when we bought our synthesizers, we were encouraged to go and put in version 1.02. They were shipped with 1.01, which you duly did, and away you went. Now the new version of the firmware is 1.11. So it means there's been 9 sub-releases between the last public release and this public release, which suggests that Roland have had a bit of an issue getting this right. Which is good, because it means that they haven't released it until they got it right, but you just see a gap in the firmware versions. But it is 1.11, that's what we should be installing, so away we go. The next point is that when I went to do the upload or the download this morning to get the actual patch itself, I can't find it on roland.co.uk, it's not there. Funny enough, I couldn't find it on roland.com either, so I went to products, I went to System-8, or I tried to go to System-8, it wasn't listed in the product list. So then I thought, well, I'll go the other way around, which I've done for the other products in the ARIA range, which is go to the ARIA web page, System-8 sub page, down the bottom of that there's a button there that says downloads, and up should come the downloads in the bottom of the screen. It's not there either. The way I found it this morning was actually to go to Google and do a Google search for the System-8 Juno-106, which was the search term I put into Google, and the whole first page right at the top of the screen was the patch page, which is on Roland.com, but you just don't seem to be able to navigate to it at the moment, so there's obviously an issue with Roland.com. Not sure what the issue is. Roland, go fix it please. Anyway, lo and behold. So that's the things that you will found out. So I went through and had a quick look at various things and talked to a couple of people today about the Juno-106 install. So as I said, it's a firmware install, it's not a VST install, doesn't seem to be any desktop there. The next thing you note about it is on Tuesday this week, Roland then released an email, or I got an email from Roland saying that the plug-out synthesizers had been released. So the plug-out synthesizers that were available for System 1 are now available for System 8. Okay, whoopee! However, what you didn't see in the fine print of that is, in order to install those plug-outs, you must have version 1.11 of the firmware on the System 8. If you don't, they won't work. Alright? So there's another word to the warning, you have to do the System 8 upgrade if you want to use those plug-outs. And I have seen various comments about the plug-outs again on the user groups this week. So that's one of the key points in terms of, and they do call this out in the bug fixes, but it's not highlighted as a requirement. And I think that's an issue. In the bug fixes it says, we've done some bug fixes to fix stuff relating to the SH101 plug out, but you need the 1.11 firmware installed to run the lot. Okay, the other key bug fix that's gone into this is if you've got a patch that you want to run mono, when you put it to performance mode, it converts it back to a polyphonic sound, and they fixed that one as well. I know that was bloody annoying actually. So that's a good fix. Looking through the other functionality improvements or additional they've split it into functionality improvements and additional functions. I'm not quite sure why, because it's both the same. There are a couple of things that I found were quite interesting. One is that you can now save tempo with the patches. So if you set it up with a specific tempo against the patch, the tempo will be saved with the patch now. There's a parameter being added. The other key one I saw there was the fact that when you have the menu doesn't disappear. When you stop twiddling the knob, it actually retains the value until you actually go off and press another knob, or press, I think the enter key is the one, to get it back to the sort of main master screen. So they were two quite good ones. The third one is there's an effects screen that's been added. I really don't understand this at the moment, but it allows you to get access to the reverb and chorus and delay areas of the keyboard. So maybe that's something for playing with next week. Going through the other pieces here, the other one that sort of jumped out to me, and I thought, well, that was actually quite a good one, was the fact you can now set the tempo by tapping on the shift key, like you could on the other ARIA pieces of equipment. Set the tempo by just tapping it to come up with a BPM. You can now do that on System-8. So there were a couple of things in there that were worthwhile, but obviously the main driver behind this is to put the system Juno-106 System-8 firmware onto the keyboard. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to do that. As with all Roland system firmware upgrades, you need to work out what version of firmware you currently have on the keyboard. Now for the Roland System-8 upgrade, it is not important to have a specific version of the firmware on the keyboard to be able to do the 1.11 upgrade, but it may become important later on. So we'll go through the process anyway. So first thing to do is switch the keyboard on. Press the menu key. Scroll through the options until you find the option that says version info, then press the enter key. As you can see, I'm currently running version 1.02, so we need to do an upgrade. Next thing to do is switch the keyboard back off. So the next thing to do is put the keyboard into upgrade mode. Okay, and we do that from a keyboard which is switched off. And I'm going to do it from the other side of the keyboard so you can see what I'm doing. You press the key trigger and you switch the keyboard on. Now as you can see, it says update, and you can do an update from the SD card, but I'm going to do an update from the USB connection. It's at this point you now connect the USB cable to the keyboard. Make sure your computer is switched on and the other end of the USB cable is connected to the computer. Right, it's now connected to the computer. So you can see by plugging the USB into the keyboard, all of a sudden a System-8 disk drive appears, which is standard stuff for all the ARIA upgrades and all the firmware upgrades actually for most of the Roland equipment, all the modern equipment. Next thing to do, as you can see, I downloaded the update file earlier on today. It's in this folder, so I'm going to expand this folder As you can see, there is one file in there. I'm also going to expand this System-8 drive and put them next to each other like so. Now, Roland always make a big thing about ensuring that you don't copy and paste the file, you drag and drop the file. So here you go. I'm going to drag it from one place to the next. It is now on my System-8 drive. I now need to eject the System-8 drive from the computer, like so. Try again, eject. There you have it. That is all you need to do on the computer. That's the computer work done. So as soon as you disconnect the computer, the System-8 starts to do its update process automatically. As you can see, 1 of 7, it'll slowly count through to 7 of 7. There you have, the update has finished. The next thing to do is to now do a version check to make sure the version has installed. We switch the keyboard off. We switch it back on. Once again, we press the menu key. Go through to version info, press the enter key, and we can now see the keyboard is 1.11. So the new version information is now on the keyboard. The final stage of the upgrade process is to do a factory reset on the keyboard. Now, there is a health warning that comes with a factory reset. The term factory reset means that it will actually wipe out any custom data that's on the keyboard and put it back to the factory settings. That means if you've made changes to any of the tones or any of the presets, patches, etc. on this keyboard, you need to back them up before you do the factory reset. This is how to do the factory reset. Menu key. Find the utility menu, press enter. Scroll through until you find the term factory reset, press enter. Now we're going to reset everything. Okay, so what we need to do here is to reset all. I'm going to press enter. Yes, I really want to do it. I'm going to press enter again. As you can see, it's now executing a factory reset on the keyboard. Factory reset has now completed. It's asking me to power off and power on. Now we need to power the keyboard back on following the factory reset. So here goes. And let's have a look and see if the Juno-106 sounds are there. Look at that. There they are, the Juno sounds.